Expert tips for surviving the recession. Let's have a look. Hello everyone, Florian.heise here, and welcome to another episode of HeiseSays. Working through my morning stein of coffee, and I thought we'd have a look at this article which is discussing expert tips and financial tips for us to survive the recession. Now, I looked at this several months ago. Back in April, I did a video called 5 Ways to Prepare for Australia's Recession. And in that, I had 5 hints and tips. Some quite common advice, some a little bit more controversial, like learning how to weld, upgrading your skills, but also avoiding food, trying to fast to save money. Now, for those of you that don't know, I am an avid faster. I try to do it every now and then. A lot of people use one meal a day to achieve the same effect, to get cellular autophagy, and, well, it is a traditional practice of every culture, civilization, and religion on the planet, which seems to have fallen out of favor. Often I'll read in the newspaper and there'll be some poor victim that we can never blame, who goes, I can't, I have to go without meals, usually a single mother, I have to go without meals to feed my child. And they're, 9 times out of 10, definitely overweight. So they've got stock, they've got food already prepared. If you've never tried it, I encourage you to look into it and to do some research because, well, it's a way to save money, isn't it? If you go a week without food, that's a week reduction in your grocery bills, particularly for adults. Because, of course, all throughout human civilization, everyone always had access to 3 meals a day, didn't they? Full of sugar and rubbish. You're just talking crazy. So let's see what advice they give here. Will it be as controversial, shall we say, as some of my hints and tips? Or what are your suggestions for people looking to save money and prepare for the recession? Hashtag just don't eat. So, Australia's decade-long run of prosperity has come to an end, with the nation entering an official recession for the first time since the 1990s. The grim news was confirmed yesterday by Treasurer Josh Frydenberg after it was revealed the pandemic-fueled buying had failed to save us. Now, the hope here was to hit a recession, we need 2 quarters of negative growth. We haven't had it. We've only had 1. The reason why our Treasurer is letting people know or saying it's inevitable is because that 1 quarter, the March quarter, is barely registering any of the impact of the economic lockdown. That hit was mainly from the bushfires, everyone. And there was some hope that they could, that enough spending, enough buyer purchasing came about through simply panic buying or ill-prepared preppers, that quarter wouldn't be negative and that the next quarter would be containing all of the decline and we'd jump back up again so we wouldn't be in recession. That was the hope. At least that's my understanding. And obviously that hasn't happened. And there's no way this next quarter is not going to be negative just because of the lockdowns that have occurred in the entire economy. So instead, the Australian economy shrank by 0.3% over the first 3 months of the year, the first quarterly contraction since 2011. As if that wasn't bad enough, national account figures from the Australian Bureau of Statistics also showed annual GDP growth slowed from 2.2% to 1.4%. And while the technical definition of a recession is 2 quarters of negative growth, that's all but certain to occur in the June quarter, meaning the R word is now inescapable. So, yes, and kudos to our Treasurer for not waiting for the technical definition, but stepping up and admitting the truth. I think that, well, politicians can weasel out of things, so good on him for stepping up and saying it. So feeling the pinch. They are worrying statistics, and it's no surprise that households are feeling the strain, with a recent Finder survey revealing more than 1 in 3 Aussies don't feel financially prepared in the current climate. Well, a lot of people don't have any reserves. They don't have any emergency funds. And this article is actually going to introduce some of these concepts to people, which is great. The overwhelming majority are worried about a lack of savings, with job security and the plunging Aussie dollar causing concern. Well, the dollar, and we'll bring up trading economics right here, everyone. The dollar is sitting a bit better. Oh, wait, that's the video I did on 5 ways to prepare. We're sitting at 69.43 US cents, so it's It's undone all of the hit it took at the beginning of the year. Let's have a look. So there's a few theories to that. The most prevalent is that the money printer go brr in the US. They're just generating cash. Another is increased demand for our natural resources. Iron ore has shot up. Brazil's supply is reduced. An expectation that China will just pump out economic activity and stimulus. So almost a quarter of us had to defer bills or payment dates a quarter due to the pandemic crisis, while we've upped our savings by 30% compared to the beginning of 2020. Finder's money expert, Bessie Hassan, said families were tightening their belts as almost all of us have been impacted by the crisis in some way. Regardless of your current situation, it's important to safeguard your financial position. However possible, every bit counts, she said. Well, yes, every little bit counts. Every saving you can make is less money you need to earn. It's more money you can stash away for a time when you need it. So recession-proof your money. Ms. Hassan said many Australians had asked for a rent freeze and applied for benefits such as Job Seeker and Job Keeper, but she warned these measures won't last forever. Therefore, it's essential to transfer any spare cash into a buffer account that you can rely on once the government assistance ends or your landlord begins charging rent again. So here she's saying, take advantage of these situations to build up the beginnings of an emergency fund. Now, there's a few approaches to this. One that I'm a fan of, which is the Dave Ramsey approach, is to first build up $1,000 emergency fund on your journey. You want to make a budget. First step is to make a budget just to track where all your money is going. So you know every dollar has a mission and a goal, and you assign that to every dollar. You know where it's going. Then build up $1,000. Then attack your debt. And his strategy is to use the snowball technique. Now, a lot of people will argue you should pay the highest interest first to get that saving. But the snowball technique is a bit different. Their strategy is to attack the smallest debt first. So say you've got a $500 debt at, 5%, and you've got a bigger one at 20%. You attack the smaller debt first because you will get that psychological benefit and that momentum. So it's like a snowball going down a hill. The more momentum you get, the more encouraged you are. And then you'll go harder and harder and harder till sometimes you may be becoming a bit crazy and suggesting people avoid eating food for a week and save up scrap metal to get an extra $5 off your mortgage. But hey, each to their own. So that's the strategy. But first you need $1,000 just to have aside in case something hits the fan and it's an emergency. So make sure you prioritize your buffer account. It's tempting to go to the pub or eat out now that restrictions are lifting, but recessions can last for a while. You don't know what will happen down the track. And that's good advice. That is just an emergency fund. And one advice that they don't give here is, or here she's going, or Dominic, editor of Online Financial Resource, is saying people should have a 3 to 6 months fund worth of living expenses. And then they're suggesting you stash it away and make sure you get a competitive interest rate. Now, I don't agree with that. I feel that's just like an advertisement for Macquarie AMP and these interest rates here. That's irrelevant. This emergency fund, the first $1,000, you've got two of them. You've got the first 1,000, then you attack your debt, then you build up a 3 to 6 months fund. And that money isn't for making, it's not an investment. The return is not significant. You want to go somewhere where you get no fees. But here's another suggestion that you never see any of these people say. The banks have an all monies clause. They can combine all your money together to pay your debts. The banks may ring up and say, I don't like the industry you're working in, Florian. I want out. You've got 30 days to pay off your credit cards, 30 days to move your mortgage. That can happen. It's happened to people before. Just talk to any experienced broker when they've had the frantic phone call to move things around. Banks have that power. One suggestion would be to separate your funds. Make sure that, don't chase a 2% interest and lock your emergency fund in a term deposit that you pay a penalty if you need to get it in an emergency. Have it in a separate bank to your business bank. Have it in a separate bank to your personal bank with your other debts that you can just access when you need it. Because then that all money clause doesn't kick in. But make sure they're separate entities. So that's just something to consider. I'd recommend you, of course, get your own professional advice, but let me know if they suggest that or if they highlight that potential risk. Sure, it may be 1 in a million, but bloody hell, this is for emergencies. And I've noticed they're never mentioning that. Maybe they don't want to highlight the risk we have just by banking. So housing costs. Both Ms. Hassan and Mr. Beatty said, as housing was one of the biggest expenses most of us faced, now is the time to look into your options. If your lease is due to expire soon, consider moving into a cheaper property. Rental prices have fallen significantly during the pandemic, and you can save a small fortune. Consider moving into a share house to split the rent even further. And we're seeing this happen. We're seeing people moving home. We're seeing people coming together. We're seeing people reducing their costs. If you're a homeowner, refinancing to a lower interest rate can save you thousands of dollars over the life of your loan by lowering your monthly or fortnightly repayments. If you've been paying above the minimum repayment amount, you may also have the option to access redraw. This can help free up cash flow if you're falling behind on your bills. Mr. Beatty went a step further, saying Aussies shouldn't be afraid to downsize or sell their homes and rent temporarily. I mean, those are very drastic moves. Remember, every time you downsize, you've got to pay stamp duty and other taxes, and then there's the cost associated with dealing with real estate agents, then there's the moving costs. One way, our biggest cost here as a family, because we're a household of 9 now. I've got myself and Rachel, we've got the kids, we've got the sister-in-law, even the father-in-law at the back in his caravan. And one of our biggest costs is food. And we save money, and these are some of the tips I mention in my ways to prepare for a recession video. I mention is we buy our food in bulk. We buy our food in bulk. We do a 1-month shop. We also buy our beef in bulk and our lamb in bulk. Buy the whole beast and freeze it, and we have a very meat-heavy diet. If you're in Brisbane, check out the Rockley meat markets, Rockley Butchers. Hashtag not sponsored, but if you see Raphael there, tell him Florian sent you. We're very happy with the quality of meat we're getting there. It's good. He might not like that because they've been flat out busy. He's been saying how flat out they've been. Lots of people have been buying up, and it's to save money. It can make a big difference, and you got a bit more control over it. The only thing is then when you buy an entire beast, you've got to eat every little thing. And Rachel's become the expert at all these different cuts. All these different cuts of beef. And there's one I really like, is a tomahawk steak. Look it up on Google, guys. It's fantastic. Anyway, back to this. People in a real tough scenario who may have lost their jobs, may be finding it hard to keep up with their home loan repayments. You don't want to be defaulting on your loan at the moment. A lot of lenders have been quite lenient in allowing people to defer during the pandemic. And exactly, who would have predicted that would have happened? Has anyone predicted that the banks would be so generous to people? When Martin North was saying about mortgage stress, don't worry, all the property spruikers come up. Don't worry, banks will give you a 6 months, 1 year holiday on your loan. Did anyone predict that at all? An alternative could be to sell your home and rent for a while. And that can be quite humbling to someone, but it may be something that people have to do. Renting is getting cheaper. And we haven't seen forced sales yet. We haven't seen these forced sales, so it hasn't affected property prices. So the credit card trap. And the credit cards are horrible. They are horrible inventions. When our savings are stretched, it's tempting to fall back on your credit card to get by. But Mr. Beatty said that was a trap to avoid, especially during a recession. People in tight spots often feel the need to rely on their credit card. It can seem like your best friend, but you can get too used to it, and suddenly your bill is getting bigger and bigger, and it's harder and harder to pay off. Credit card interest rates are still almost at record levels despite the RBA's rate cuts. It's now not out of the ordinary to be charged 20% on some credit cards, so it's easy to spiral out of control. You need to get rid of your credit cards. You need to. You don't need them. You do not need them. For the points and all that garbage, not worth it. You can get a debit card which has the same capacity. The only reason I was paying them off and reduced. So I've got 2 of them, like $500, one for home, one for business. If I need to spend more than that on a credit card, I'll put extra money on top of it. It's paid off literally the instant that anything goes on it. The only reason I haven't gotten rid of it is because I haven't been bothered going to the bank. That's it. I should, but I've been too lazy. So there's no reason you need it now. There's other options people have. Particularly if you've lost your job, do what you can to get rid of it and cut back everything you can. You can also sell things if you need to, which is going to be tough now. The current market, but people are still saying, people are going to be smarter looking at second-hand things, so there may be more opportunities to sell stuff you don't need. And the final piece of advice, stay positive. It's easy to get caught up in the doom and gloom, but Mr. Beatty said there was light at the end of the tunnel, as all recessions are temporary. Recessions don't last forever. Things will get brighter. It may seem tough now, but be prepared and things will get better. And he's right. He is definitely right. Out of a recession, opportunities grow. If you trim the forest, new saplings will come up. New opportunities will arise. Sometimes, for some people, being humbled by going through these hard times could be the best thing that ever happened to them. What are you doing to prepare and to improve yourself? What opportunities, what skill stacks are you building? Are you getting fitter? Are you learning new skills? Are you improving your diet? What are you doing now that you've got this free time? As always, thank you for watching. Please like, share, and subscribe to the channel. Let me know your thoughts and opinions and your suggestions for preparing for a recession. Are you an OMAD aficionado? Have you found that's helped you save money? Or have you gotten healthier? Or are you just exercising, learning new skills, trying to, write that elusive book you've always wanted? As always, thanks for watching, guys. Please support the channel by sharing, commenting, and interacting. If you're a fan and you want to support us that bit extra, there are a few ways you can. You can join us on YouTube or Patreon. You can support us via our affiliate links at Amazon or eBay or Independent Reserve and Kucoin. You can buy our merch from HeiseSays, use Gold Pass from the Perth Mint, or support us via PayPal. Take care, everyone. I'll see you in the next video.